Just want to go over what I did so far while we're on our short break. Took and put all the new bearings on, pressed the bearing on, put the clip on. As you can see, the bearing's pressed on, the clip's reinstalled, everything's clean. Same thing for the counter shaft. Got it pressed on. That's just a lot of oil you see because I dipped it. And this is a good, I'll say this, I'm not sure if I'm 100% correct, but I found, especially when you're pressing a bearing on like this, I press it on dry and then I dip it because the oil, the film buildup will get underneath the ledge and it won't allow you to press it all the way down. It'll actually act like a hydraulic and it'll take up space, a few thousandths, and you won't be able to get that clip on. So I found it better to press it on dry and then apply the oil. And another thing with this bearing, it's actually 3 pieces. I'll show you. This one actually started falling apart, but this is the old one. This is the spacer it goes on first, and then this bearing actually has an insert to keep the rollers from falling out. And then you press this down on top of the spacer like so. Make sure your snap ring groove is facing up. They actually installed the new one upside down. This spacer was on the opposite side, so I had to switch that around, and I was careful not to drop any of the roller bearings out. But I almost pressed it on before I realized it, and I was like, oh crap, I need to have that snap ring up top. So all the bearings are pressed on, and now we could move on to the next step. Okay, now we're going to start putting the guts back into the housing. I got it all clean, thoroughly cleaned it with parts cleaner, and then went over it with brake cleaner. I'm going to start by installing the output shaft. Now there's a few different ways you can do this. There's no right or wrong way. This is just the way I do it. Just wiggle it in place, put the bearing through. Now this next step is a little bit different. Let me turn this so you can actually see it a little better. You gotta be careful because these rollers can fall out. So you want to get this up in there, get it meshed in. Get this bearing started in the front housing. Like so. Careful, it can fall apart. You always use a second hand in this step. However, you need your input shaft. New pilot bearing. Synchro ring. Hope you guys are seeing this alright. And the input shaft. Okay. I'm going to take and put my snap ring on. Like so. The new bearing came with a clip for the counter shaft. Everything's coming together fairly well. Now let's install the reverse shift rail. We need the interlock pin. Now in this step, I know this might look funny, but petroleum jelly, Vaseline, helps hold these little parts in place. If you have a good assembly lube, it's fine, but this stuff works great. Been using it for years. Once you get your interlock pin in place, just the second one up. Okay, now you want to get your shift forks. Now we're going to install the 1 and 2 shift fork. And 3 and 4. Now we want to install the 1 and 2 interlock plug. This is where the magnet comes in handy. Okay, once you get that installed, okay, now we're going to take our 1 and 2 shift rail and install the interlock pin right here. Some of the petroleum jelly to hold in place. I tell you, my other tub of Vaseline was running low, and don't go there with it. But it's funny I say that because when I went to pick up a new tub, I kind of got a weird look from the lady behind the counter because that's all I was buying. But we know what it's for. They can lube up the rail as well. I didn't want to tell her I was going to use it to lube the rails because I don't know if she knows what I need. This comes in from the back side. Coming in through the back side just like so. You see your bolt hole will line up. Before I go any further, I want to place the C-clip, the retaining clip, on the reverse shift rail. That's this one right here. Do this without making it fly. Okay, just like so. Okay, turn this so it's round to the back side. Now we're going to take and install the 3 and 4 interlock plug. Use the magnet in the same manner. Okay. So we're going to take and install the 3 and 4 shift rail. Now we're going to take and install the shift fork set screws. I'm going to use a little bit of a Loctite. Okay. Now we can install our 2 snap rings, our retaining rings. And I just tilted this on its side to make this part a little bit easier. Now we're going to install the 5th gear shift rail lock ball. Now this is why I don't wear gloves too often, because they just tear on me anyhow. Do the magnet again. I know this part is hard to see for you guys, but I'm doing my best. Okay, once you got that ball installed, proceed to install our shift rail. Alright, so I just spun this around. We're going to install the reverse idler shaft and reverse idler gear. As you recall, the old one was missing some teeth. So this is the new gear, new idler gear. So install the shaft. So that's spin in the opposite direction. Okay. Okay, now we're going to install the rear bearing retainer. This also locks the reverse idler shaft in place. It's a locking tab on there, just like so. These bolts have lock washers on them, so I'm not going to use any Loctite here. You see, line up the notch. You see that there? You got to line up the notch with that retainer bracket. Remember, you're only going into aluminum housing, so don't over tighten them. Now let's install the 5th gear lock ball. And the 5th gear thrust ring. You'll see the notch for the ball. Pre-assemble the 5th gear hub assembly, synchronizer hub assembly. Now on your slider on your 5th gear, only one side has the tapered edges. One side's flat, the flat side faces down. And this will be sliding into the synchronizer hub, so it has to have that point facing towards the synchronizer. Okay, we got our last set of synchronizer rings and inserts. You'll take notice that these inserts are a little different. They have a ledge step on them. That's because if you look here, the fifth gear counter gear is kind of in the way, so this kind of steps down and under that counter gear, so it pushes up enough. Okay. Install the 5th gear collar. Install all 3 inserts. With that taper ledge facing back towards the counter gear. Install your retaining rings. There's going to be 2 on one side on this one. Just install it 180 out from the other one. Like so. Your new 5th gear roller bearings are split, so stick them in some oil and install them into the 5th gear counter gear. Install it like so. And install the 5th gear synchronizer ring. You need to put a little petroleum jelly on there just to hold it in place, it's fine. And a 5th gear spline gear. I'll have to tap that on. Tap this on all the way with a rubber mallet. And install the retaining clip. Like so. Okay. And now we got our reverse shift rail and ball. I'm taking Roll it over this shaft until you get to the notch. Okay. Put a little petroleum jelly on that ball. Let it fall into the notch. I'll allow you to slide it over to the reverse shift rail. Just like so. Alright. I need the locking bolt. Install a little Loctite. Now we'll install the detent balls and springs. Install all 3 detent balls. Install the detent springs. I'm going to use blue Loctite on this. These plugs can be as bare as they are coming out sometimes. To get a torque wrench, just torque them down to like 14 foot-pound. You don't have to kill them. I kind of got a feel for it, and it's running a little late, so. Okay. And it just started pouring. Looking good. Okay, at this point we're going to install the reverse shift arm bracket. You're going to want to make sure your shift and linkage is in your idler gear, properly in the groove. Install it like so. Torque down to about 13 foot-pounds. You can install the top detent as well at this point. Install the ball. Spring. A little bit of blue Loctite. It's time for another break. I think that's going to conclude the class for today. Tomorrow we'll button the rest of it up.